knights and I want to play my knights, and just there's always something going on that means the knights are worth playing at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, very, very cool.
And in our team's event, we've got the thinking from much smarter people than me was it's either going to be bring a couple of knights lists, CK and IK, or no knights lists.
Right.
And I didn't have anything else that I was okay playing, so 2 knights lists in our army, in
Awesome.
our team.
Yeah. Very, very cool. I'm going to be, once I've finished this little chat with you, since you have to pop off shortly, I will be going through a bunch of the lists and kind of talking through what I think about those. But yeah, it's very, very exciting. So I really like that idea of having different styles of terrain on the different boards, because that really changes. Like, pairings is one of my favorite parts of teams, apart from like the camaraderie you have from just playing as a team. But like the pairings and being able to figure out like, hey, well, I'm really good on this style of table, but I'm not as good strong on this. So being able to like play around that, changing the formats on different tables really like amplifies that, in my opinion. It'd be really interesting to actually try that, because that sounds really exciting to me.
Yeah, and look, necessity is the mother of invention, right? So the part of the reason we went with this last time was that that's what we had. We've been building up a stack of the Kraken terrain that they had,
Yep.
and we've built up a stack of WTC style terrain and UKTC, and then we got all this GW terrain because that's what everybody wanted to play on. So then we just had all of this different stuff, and so last time, this is what we did. And the feedback we got was really positive. Like, people seem to really enjoy, rather than having heavy, medium, light, having different styles, but all at least of a certain density. We want it to be fair and even for shooting and combat armies, no matter what table you land on. But it really does still matter. If you're playing Blood Angels or Black Templars versus, say, playing Tau or Knights or whatever, it really matters. When you win the roll off, you can see the layout of the table and also just what style suits you better. Some people really love playing on GW terrain. Some people really far prefer the big L's of the UKTC style. So having at least some of that in every grouping of 5 means that winning the roll off is still important. It's just important in a different way, I think.
Yeah, yeah, very, very cool. Now, I'm really interested to see how it goes, and I'll definitely be talking to some people after the event and see how they feel on that, because that's, I think, a really innovative way of using what you have on hand. That's great, because like I talked to a bunch of the tournament organizers, and the hardest thing is getting enough terrain of a certain type. Whereas you're completely fixing that problem and making it a feature by having different
Right.
style terrain on each board. I think that's a really, really clever and really innovative way of making it better for you, making it a better play experience for your players, instead of being like, oh, sorry, we only have, enough for 2 of these sets and 2 of these sets. You're like, no, this is a feature. This is actually making it more interesting and makes you want to come to the event more. Like, I really, really like that. I really want to try this now. I'm very much getting some FOMO of not being there, because that sounds really, really interesting.
Well, funnily enough, shout out to Mikey Herbert from the UK,
Yep.
from Warpstorm. He sorry, Hellstorm. So boy, this sounds like name dropping, but I used to do a podcast where I would interview well-known people, and he was talking about doing that at one of his events. Very similar sort of concept.
Yep.
And so when he talked about it, I thought, well, you know what, it's good enough for this guy. Yes, we can do it too,
Awesome.
right?
Yeah.
All the way over on the other side of the world. I got to do a shout out as well, if it's okay with you, to Ryan Pike and Duncan Brody, who have been amazing. They've come on board as part of the Properly Cocked Events team. And Ryan and Duncan, they're always there to help us set up, so it just seemed like a natural thing. And they have terrain and they have mats, and also Ryan has set up a big screen with a timer on it. So, and it also has got a voice shouting out 20 minutes to go and 10 minutes,
Awesome.
and then we do it. So, because that's one of the things we have found. One of the biggest issues is just making sure that everybody is aware of how long they've got. There's always games that run a little longer, or people that have a little more difficulty with figuring out how long turns should take, and all that sort of thing.
Yep.
And so you just don't want feels bads for people. You want to be able to give everybody the best experience that we can. So just keeping people aware of the time seemed to be like just one of the biggest issues. So hopefully we've figured that out, we've addressed it, we're good to go.
Awesome, well done. That's the best thing. Like, events are never going to be perfect the first time around, but as long as you keep innovating, you keep trying your best, which is what every event in New Zealand is doing. It's such a great thing to see. And yeah, best of luck for the event this weekend. I know you got to get going because it's 8:15. So thank you very much, Steve. Really, really appreciate you coming on to have a chat with me. And I'm going to dive into the list now, but have a lovely night and thank you again.
Oh, sorry, before I go, one last shout out.
Yep.
Because of talking knights, one legend of mankind is bringing a knight Porphyrion,
Oh,
which is this 700 and something point 30 wound beast of a thing that if he gets stuck on the wrong table is not going to be able to move at all. But look, the fact that Regan is bringing this to a team's event, he's on the team we're playing first up actually.
yeah.
Our team versus his team. I have got my fingers crossed that I don't pair into him because that's just going to be a total
Yeah. Oh, that would be
dice
very, very
roll
interesting.
nightmare. But
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be amazing. But
Awesome.
you've got to salute a man who's going to do that. Bring that to a team's event. I just love it.
Definitely.
And that's what I love about teams, right? You get to see all these crazy builds that you just probably wouldn't see in an individual event. Anyway,
Awesome.
I love your work. I love your show.
Yes.
Keep up the great content. And thanks for having me on, man.
Thank you very much, Steve. Catch you later, eh? Thank you. Sweet. And thank you. Should be. There we go. Beautiful. Oh, that didn't change it there. Steve is. Oh, I'm still on, so let's figure out this. Okay, that was awesome having Steve on. I'm just trying to figure out how to get rid of Steve's beautiful face there. There we go. Awesome. Very, very cool. Thank you very much, Steve. That was excellent. I think the first part of that interview got cut off, sadly. I think my internet was bugging out a little bit, which is a bit of a pain, but is what it is. But basically, the Wellington Team Champs, the WTC of New Zealand is on this weekend. And yes, super excited. The terrain format that Steve was talking about is it's a couple tables of GW, couple tables of WTC, and then one either UKTC or kind of varied old school style of terrain. So really interesting that there's a really diverse range of terrain for each table. So that first turn roll is really, really important. So I'll be thinking about that when looking at these team comps. But that is what we're going to be doing now. We're going to be looking over the team comps, which should be a very, very cool time. But firstly, I'm going to talk about next weekend, which I'm doing basically the entire weekend from 8 a.m. Saturday till very late Saturday night, and then same on Sunday, a live stream for Blue September, which is the prostate cancer charity, research for prostate cancer and prostate cancer awareness. So I'm hosting an event. There's on my Facebook page, there is a link to an event, which is where it's all going to be hosted through. I'm going to be live on my YouTube channel. I have a bunch of very, very fun people on. I have a bunch of my friends, a bunch of known people in New Zealand 40K on to play some games on TTS, and I'll be commentating them. I also have some international guests, which are really, really exciting, and I will spoil those over the next week on who's actually coming, which is really, really fun. I've got a couple of really cool guests, and everyone that's coming on to play these games is an absolute champion. So thank you all very much. The QR code here. Oh, it's not on, is it? So I need to do that. There we go. Yeah, QR code here is what you need to scan to get it. There'll also be links. This is to get to the event page for my Blue September link, and if you do that, then you can donate there. But on the weekend, the more you donate to the event page, the more I will do some wacky things. There'll be different wheels that you can spin to affect the games that are happening and all sorts of really, really fun things. So if you're interested in that, come along. I'll be doing it all of next weekend from 8 a.m. Saturday morning until very late Saturday night, at least 10 p.m. Potentially later, and then I'll be doing it all again on the Sunday. So very, very excited for that. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's for a really good cause. So if you do have any spare money, or even if you can just come hang out with us while you're doing your hobby next weekend, whatever you can, it'd be great to come and show your support. So I will finish that for now, and we can hide that. But yeah, so we have, starting tomorrow, this Teams event. And again, bless Steve and his beautiful, beautiful voice to come on and have a chat with us about it. He is taking his knights to this event. He's playing in it, and they've got some great people TOing it. But let's crack on and have a look at some of these lists. I am very excited to see these. So let's start with, we have 25 draws. Okay, so team captain is Andrew Pierce, and we have Emperor's Children, Adeptus Custodes, Space Marines, Astartes. Let's see what Space Marines they are. It's a Gladius Task Force, and it's Pedro Cantor. Oh, it's Imperial Fists. Hell yeah. Awesome. And it's okay, so Gladius, so vanilla Space Marines, I suppose, with Pedro Cantor. Then we got Necrons and Astra Militarum. I'm not going to go through every single individual list here. I'm kind of just going to go through the team comps, what I think of them, and kind of going from there, because otherwise we'll be here for the entire night. So, yeah, let's have a look-see. So, Emperor's Children, fast, aggressive melee army, but has to have some Parion's protection, because if they don't, they have some issues. They can get run over by some certain armies, and they can't really go into knights or anything like that. So they need to be paired around knights. But if they can do that, they can bring home some really big scores. They've got Custodes. Can kind of go into anything, so that can be one of the blunters for the knight matchups, for the bad matchups for the Emperor's Children, and can kind of bring a score back in most things, which is quite good. Imperial Fists. Pedro Cantor gives Sternguard extra OC, I believe that's what he does, and he's also just a bit of a beat stick himself. So I think that's kind of, again, a bit more of an all-rounder list. He has a couple of Tech Marines at the top of the list. I'm assuming there's quite a few vehicles as well, so you might be going a bit more vehicle heavy. Then we've got Necrons. Let's see what kind of... so Necrons will be good. They're a pretty good blunter for the most case and can push in certain matchups. And then Astra. And Astra Militarum, again, usually quite heavy on the guns. If it's recon, it's again very, very much a blunter that can push down certain matchups. So it looks like here they have quite a few all-rounders, and then they have the Emperor's Children as like, if it can get paired into a good matchup, they can blow out some big wins, and then everything else is there just to kind of stabilize and keep it close. So that's a very fair way to pair for fives, and they might have some more plans. Obviously, this is just me looking at the factions themselves and not necessarily every single list, because otherwise, again, would be here for a very long time. Now, I'm very excited to see B Team. Gosh, over a year ago now, I coached for the B Team to help them like grow as a team, so it's really excited to see them down here in Wellington. So we got Gene Stealer Cult, Tyranids, Chaos Space Marines, Death Guard, and Dark Angels. So pretty interesting lineup. So they've got GSC, Tyranids. It's very interesting. Both Tyranids and then 3 Marines. Very, very interesting lineup here. But again, GSC, if they put it into the correct matchup, if it's host, it can push if it gets into like a Marine mirror or something like that. It can also be quite good into knights with all the lethal hits that they have access to. Tyranids, very good blunter in most cases. So again, so you have something that can push in those knight matchups or other big things matchups, and also very good into Marines, lots of 2 damage. A blunter with Tyranids. CSM's often a pusher, or it can be like a stabilizer in a lot of matchups. Death Guard, definitely probably more of a pushing role here. And then Dark Angels can, depending on the style of Dark Angels, can be either quite aggressive or it can be quite stable as well. So it looks like it's probably the Death Guard and GSC pushing a little bit here. Tyranids, CSM, and Dark Angels, depending on matchup, they're either pushing or trying to stabilize and be more of a defender role, which is a very fair lineup. So I'll be really interested to see how this 5-pack goes. And good luck to them as well. And then we have Collective United National Team. Beautiful name, the CUNT. I love it. Gotta respect the hustle. So we have Adeptus Custodes again, the second Custodes we've seen already. Chaos Space Marines, Eldari, Emperor's Children, and Dark Angels. Okay, another Dark Angels as well, and another CSM. Quite a few repeats already. So Custodes, CSM, again, like good defenders, depending on the CSM, can be a good pusher in certain matchups. So it's like a Bile or something like that. Eldari can, if it's ticked for the night matchups, can absolutely obliterate those. Emperor's Children again, so you definitely need that access to making sure the Emperor's Children don't go into one of their bad matchups. So Eldari are very good there at taking away one of those like night matchups or something like that, so they can't get pinned as easily. And Dark Angels can also play into those kind of heavier matchups. So here I'd think It's the Eldari and the Emperor's Children that they're trying to get into a good matchup and then stabilizing with the rest. But I could also see a CSM getting into a winning position. Maybe the Eldari gets a bit more bust here. So something along those lines, I could definitely see what's happening here. Dregs of a Cold Flat White. Beautiful. I'm loving these names so far. These names are absolute fire so far. I'm very impressed. Then we have Imperial Knights. Okay, the first Knights. Okay, finally. Death Guard, Eldari, Genestealer Cults, and Chaos Demons. Obviously, by the way, this is Imperial Knights before the Codex, because the Codex actually isn't out yet. I know everything's been leaked online and previewed and all that kind of stuff, but this is just the Index Knights with the, I'd assume the new MFM points. Yeah. Yeah, so Imperial Knights, Death Guard, Eldari, Genestealer Cult again, and Demons. Okay, so here I think the Singular Knights is an interesting one. As Steve alluded to in our chat earlier, it's kind of nice. If you bring one, bring both, because then you can really pressure in pairings, especially in fives, you can really easily pin things. But with the one Knight, I think if you're going to go one Knight, Imperial Knights is the correct of those two to go. And then because they're just kind of a bit more stable on their own, and because they still have the Feel No Pain, they're still very durable for what they are. So a good pick there. So I think it's, again, I actually quite like this lineup actually, just thinking about it. So you got CSM as a really good blunter, really good stabilizer, Death Guard that can go into most things and bring back points, and if they go into the right things, bring back a lot of points. Imperial Knights are the same, but they will be hunted quite heavily, so I think they're there to kind of pull away bad matchups and just from the rest and just try and get some points back. And also if it's a lot of 4+ invulnerable save knights, you could just have a bit of the scam potential there as well. Eldari to try and help pick off those knights. Genestealer Cult can also help with those knights. Death Guard. So this is very anti-knight meta because you have knights. So you have the Knight Mirror, which is, 50-50 roughly. And then you got Death Guard, Eldari, Genestealer Cult, all good into knights. And Chaos Demons have the 4-ups against the knights as well to kind of keep that a bit more close. So I think this one's definitely hedged a bit more against that kind of knight meta. And again, I know I'm talking a lot about the knight side of things here, but at the same time, that it's such a powerful combination and kind of skews the meta a little bit. Death Guard and the two knight factions are definitely the boogeyman at the moment. And especially once the new Knight Codex comes out, I think they're still going to be very strong. I think there's a couple of detachments in that new book that are quite strong. The Valor Strike seems quite strong with the speed that it has, and the Questoris one as well, being able to get cascading buffs throughout the game and just kind of having access to more utility throughout the game seems really, really strong. I also personally like the Helverin detachment. I think that one is an absolute banger. Being able to get Helverins up to AP3, so you're having strength 9, AP3, 3 damage shots is pretty funny in my eyes. I don't know how good that is, but it seems pretty funny in my mind. But yeah, really, really like this setup. It seems like it's very defensive. It can go into a lot of things. I'd say some really aggressive pressure lists, like if you have an army with EC, with World Eaters, with like Blood Angels, if you have all of those in your list, in your roster, this might be a bit of a risk. Like this might not deal with that as well, because a lot of these armies don't deal super great with a lot of pressure. But apart from that, I think they are in for a good time. Next we have Freebooters, and we have Emperor's Children. So many Emperor's Children. What is it with so much Emperor's Children in Wellington? Like, I love Emperor's Children, and they're such a cool new book and has some really neat stuff. But this is like, what, the 5th Emperor's Children we've already seen? And then we have Grey Knights, Chaos Demons, Tyranids, and Tau Empire. Yeah, my boys. My Tau. I'm always a Tau fanboy at heart. Even if don't think that they're the greatest right now, I think they are very, very fun and still my favorite faction. So what am I thinking here? Grey Knights are the kind of go in and get a 10. I think is kind of the goal there. Same with the Demons. Same with the Tyranids. Maybe they're trying to get the EC and the Tau into big matchups here and then trying to stabilize with the rest. Grey Knights can also go into some matchups and have a fairly decent win rate, but I don't think you'll be trying to protect Grey Knights too much. I think that might lead to issues in other places. So I think you're probably still trying to keep your Emperor's Children and probably the Tau here, because if you can get the Tau into a good table, it can be really beneficial for them. And the EC, if they can dodge matchups more than opponents can also be really, really strong here. Whereas the others can kind of play into the field and still grab some points pretty well. Also love the name, Freebooters, you know, get that orc love in there. Next we have Palmy Unsealed. We have Eldari, Drukhari, Death Guard, Necrons, and Chaos Knights. Palmy Unsealed is a very, very cool team, and what do I think of their lineup here? So Eldari, good at hunting those knights, good, just kind of all-rounder, can be weak to some things, but Alex is also a very good player, so I think he'll do very well there. Drukhari, I think, into this kind of potential knight meta with lots of vehicles, and even into the Death Guard can be quite interesting with all the Blight Haulers and Bloat Drones and all that kind of stuff hanging around. The Drukhari can be very strong there. Death Guard, just, yeah, naturally very strong. Necrons, very good blunter. And then Chaos Knights, the first Chaos Knights, I think, so far. Again, the triple Gatling Despoilers is an absolute hell of a drug. It's just so much output for 3 units, I guess. You know, each one of them has so much output, especially in the Infernal Lance, the one where you get the Dark Pacts. But yeah, very cool here. So yeah, I think looking probably like Eldari and maybe Chaos Knights. No, Eldari and Drukhari probably trying to get the stronger matchups here. Death Guard can go into most things and bring back decent points. Necrons can go into pretty much everything and bring home points. And the Chaos Knights are probably to bait some things to try and get better matchups for everything else. And also just be able to stat check people and push through some damage. Again, some of the times when you play against Knights and they have invulnerable saves and they just make them, the games become exponentially harder every time they make more 4-ups than they should have, and it can get really out of hand really quickly. So there's always a lot of scam potential when it comes to like Knight armies, which is one of the reasons I don't love them when they're very, very strong. I still think the armies are cool, don't get me wrong, but I do think Chaos Knights and Imperial Knights have a bit of the overwhelming feels bad sometimes when they just like roll hot in the right times, but it is what it is. But very cool lineup. I think they can do quite well here. They kind of hedge their bets so that they'll be good against most things, but definitely the mechanized stuff they'll be a bit stronger into. Very, very cool stuff. Peaked in second ed is the next team here, and we have Imperial Knights, Blood Angels, Tyranids, Black Templars, and Thousand Suns. So, off the bat, Blood Angels usually a very aggressive team trying to get a lot of points. Same with Black Templars. Wait, you can't have Black Templars and Blood Angels. Is one of these incorrect? That is Black Templars. And that is Blood Angels. Interesting. So they're allowing double Marines in this event? Question mark? Balls, SEAL Team 6 Orcs and Knights goated. Thanks for that, Hadley. Okay. Which team's that? SEAL Team 6. Alright, so they're a bit lower down, so I'll have a look at the Orcs and Knights lists down there when we get there. Interesting that they're allowing double Space Marines here. It's quite a neat one. So what do I think here? So I think, yeah, Blood Angels and Black Templars. Oh, it's a known issue for right, sure. The BTN. Yeah, okay, so it's just them. Okay, so it's not necessarily allowed, but it was just something that kind of got bypassed there. Makes sense. Okay, so yeah, what do I think here? So T-Suns are usually a pusher, Black Templars and Blood Angels are usually trying to get big scores. So the Tyranids are definitely on heavy duty trying to get a good matchup here. And the Imperial Knights are probably trying to get a bit more of a safety net here potentially, and then maybe the Black Templars or the Blood Angels, one of them is going to be into a bit of a weaker matchup. What I mean here is like, obviously everything can bring home big scores, but you have to kind of decide in pairings what armies you're going to be trying to push for big wins and what armies you're trying to just stabilize games and keep them as close as possible, because it's unlikely that you're going to win all 5 games. So, but being able to pair in a way that you're getting positive matchups for the things that you need is really, really important. So I would say probably the Blood Angels and T-Suns are, in my eyes here, the two that you'd really want to push for good tables and good opponents. whereas the Tyranids and the Imperial Knights don't really care nearly as much. The Black Templars is the one that's a little odd here. Captains decided to let it go for them. Okay, cool. Thanks, Vincent. Yeah, so the Blood Angels and Black Templars it was an issue when they submitted lists, and then they allowed it just for this team, just because they mustn't have known about it. Thanks for that. It's good to know, because yeah, usually the reason I bring this up is usually only allowed one army from each codex, and because Blood Angels and Black Templars pull from the same Space Marine generic codex, you can't have access to both in the same 5-pack for teams. The same as like when you ally an army in, you then pull it away from the possibility of being able to have it for other players, because that you've taken that army from out of your 5-pack. Now we have properly cocked the namesake team. See what they can do with team captain Steve Joel. What an absolute legend. So we have Chaos Knights, Necrons, John McLaughlin on Necrons, nice. Louis Thompson, Greg on Blood Angels. We have Leagues of Votann and Imperial Knights on Steve Joel and his Imperial Knights. Let's have a look at Steve's list. Before we do anything else, let's see how cracked this list is. So obviously this is before the codex, this is just index. So we have What the Hector, decent name. I'll give that a 6 out of 10 because a lot of names are pretty bad. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. It's at least something. He's trying to be good with it, so I'll give him a 7 out of 10 for the name there. And then we have a Noble Lance with Canis Rex, an Atropos, and Double Lancer. Steve's going for full scam potential here with the 4-up involves. That's excellent. Awesome. Cool, yeah, so, and then 2 Helverins and a Navigator to screen out his backfield. Pretty interesting, pretty simple list. The Atropos is really good at killing other big knights, the Lancers are good at killing most things, and then Canis Rex is just an absolute value engine, right? Like, that's just what he is. So, pretty cool list here. Yeah, with the Navigator at the bottom, just to hold your home field. Hopefully there's no indirect to just get him. But yeah, cool list. It kind of does what it says on the tin, right? Like, you have 4 big knights, you kind of pressure the mid board really aggressively, hope to make some extra 4-ups, and then you can get a big win with it. So what do I think of this team? They have Chaos Knights and Imperial Knights. So this is one where you can really push the aggression there. If there's an army, you can't put an army up in pairings now until you've gotten rid of one of those. You can't put an army up that is bad into knights, because if they can put both of these up as the attackers into that, you're guaranteed to get a positive matchup for one of them, which is a really strong thing you can do in the pairings process. So having both of them really pressures that side of things in pairings, which really makes pairings very much more difficult for your opponent if they haven't really pushed a lot of their armies to be decent into knights. So I really like the pin potential. Blood Angels being an aggressive army is really good here as well. Also stops the melee pressure from being an issue as much. Leagues of Votann also quite good into high pressure armies and just being able to do a bunch of damage. And then Necrons to kind of probably be a bit more of a stable, getting your 10-10s, but it being able to push up a bit in certain matchups. So you can stabilize with the Necrons. I would say the Blood Angels and either the Imperial Knights or the Chaos Knights are your kind of pushes. Leagues of Votann is a bit more of a flex, where it can stay back and kind of get you like a 10-10, or it can push in certain matchups, or it can go into a bad matchup and try and push for something. So really like this team comp here, and I'm not just saying that because Steve was on the podcast earlier or on the live stream earlier. Yeah, very, very, very cool stuff. Really like the pin. I think in 5s especially, it's harder to be able to deal with the pin. It's really, really powerful. It's a really good shot there. Okay, now we're at SEAL Team 6, so we've heard from Hadley that there was a couple of interesting lists here, and it was the Orcs list. Okay, so what we got here? We got Grey Knights, Tau. It's Paul Phillips. Cool. Hey, Imperial Knights, Orcs, and Adeptus Sororitas. So let's have a look at this Orc list, since he told us to have a look at it. Okay. So what do we got here? We got, what detachment is this? Get Finder Goggles. That is Daka Daka, I believe. So we got Zodrog, Big Mech with Shock Attack Gun, Mech, and a War Boss. 20 boys, 22 Gretchen to go with Zodrog, nice. 5 flash kits, 5 flash kits, 6 tank busters, 3 death copters, yeah. And then we have 3 killer cans, a stomper, oh yeah, and a trog. Hell yeah, what a list. What a list. You gotta love something like that. That is excellent. So everything's fast, it can hit really hard for a turn. Very, very cool stuff. That is very fun. And the other one was, and the knights are goated. Oh, is this the one that Steve was talking about with the Canis Rex and Cerastus Light and the Porphyrion? Yeah, there we go. Awesome. So this is Canis Rex, a Lancer, 1 Warglaive, a Porphyrion, which is 700 points, 10 Battle Sisters, an Immolator, and an Immolator. So 2 Immolators that split the sisters into them, so you can have 2 units, effectively 4 units there. Very nice little mission play pieces, and also nice for the Immolators to be able to strip cover, which is just really strong, so make sure all your other stuff is doing extra damage. Really good force multipliers there. And then you have Canis Rex because there's good value. A Lancer because Lancers are good. The 4-ups are very strong. And then we have, yeah, just a little bit more mission play with a Warglaive, and then the Porphyrion to hit some mega heavy damage. And I think they're very good into other knights. So I think it's the anti-knight counter. It's pretty hot. I'm digging that quite a bit. Very cool. Thanks for letting me. Thanks for suggesting to look at those. Those were very, very cool lists. Oh, I'm also very curious to see what Paul's bringing. So what's he bringing for the Tau? Oh, we've got walkers on the North Ridge, so it's experimental. Awesome. I've actually had a couple of games with experimental recently. So we have Cold Star Commander with fusion blades and an ethereal, 2 broadsides, 2 broadsides, Star Scythe, Sunforge to go with the Commander, Ghost Keel, Carnivores, Pathfinder, Riptide, Stealth Team, Vespid. So pretty heavy on the damage. The 2 sets of broadsides is definitely gunning a little bit for the night matchups, definitely, or the heavier mech lists. Are they all heavy rail? Heavy rail. Yeah, they're all heavy rails as well. So it's definitely teched for the night matchups. But cool, you need to have those answers, so it's a good list for that reason. Really interested to see how he goes. I might have to message him afterwards and see how he goes after the event. Very, very cool. So what do I think about this pack? I think you got your Night Hunters with the Tau and the Imperial Knights, but also the Orcs can kind of play into that a little bit as well. Sisters and Grey Knights then are your kind of your 10-10ers. So you have these 3 kind of pushing depending on what you go into. Pardon me. Ooh. And then you have the Grey Knights and the Sisters to kind of hold the fort down. Very, very cool. Another quality name here. We have the CTUNs, the Catuns. Very, very good. I like what you're doing there. And we got Imperial Knights, Necrons, Leagues of Votan, Chaos Knights again, and Grey Knights. So they have all 3 flavors of knights here. Very, very cool. So we have what did I think here? I think, yeah, you got the Knight Pin, really, really good stuff. Necrons, a bit more defensive. Votan and Grey Knights kind of your other more defensive but have potential to push. Definitely the Votan a bit more there. So kind of your 3 pushes is you're trying to get one of the Knights and probably your Votan into a good matchup. And then old Simon's probably just trying to go out and get his 10-10s like he always loves to. And yeah, kind of just go from there and just kind of see how Perrins goes from there. Cool, let's stop there. I really like the Knight Pin and 5s. I think it's really strong. And yeah, very, very cool stuff. The real Peronis, we have Blood Angels, Astra Militarum, Imperial Knights, Eldari, and Chaos Knights. What do I think of this lineup? Blood Angels, good pressure list. Astra with Luke, you know. I told Luke that I would look at his list, so I'll have a look at it in a sec. But Astra Militarum, you know, pretty strong, good, nice and stable a lot of the time. Imperial Knights, good, really, really good for the scam potential. You know, there's lots of scamming that can go on with them, especially. Then we have Eldari and Chaos Knights. Tim, back on the Chaos Knights off the Tau and Crude Hunting Pack trains. Yeah, okay, so let's have a look at Luke's list, since he commented on my Facebook post. Let's have a look, see and see what. Yeah, you're in the guard, son. Again, pretty good name. I'll give that a 7.5 out of 10. It's slightly better than Steve's one. So what do we got here? So it's combined arms, so it's the index attachment. Got a Acadian Command Squad, 2 Dawn Commanders and Ursula Creed. 2 units Acadian Shock Troops. Catachan Jungle Fighters, 3 of those. So lots of infantry. 50 infantry. 2 units of Bulgren. This is kind of your anti like melee pressure, because they can go in. A lot of those melee armies are damaged too, so it halves them, and then they can stay. The Bulgren to stay alive, and then they can chip them down and kind of clog up the center of the board really well. They're also really good at tagging vehicles because they can just kind of gunk them up. You're not scoring primary, and they're just really, really good. I actually rate them really, really high. I think they're quite good, especially with like the EC and all this kind of stuff around at the moment. Lehman Russ Battle Tank, Lehman Russ Exterminator, sorry, and then a Vanquisher, and then Ratlings for some infiltrating action. So Vanquisher kind of hedges your bets a little bit in the night matchups, and also just a good anti-tank piece, and very, very cheap for what you get. An Exterminator to strip cover, Lehman Russ Battle Tank because it's just a good all-rounder. Anti-melee pressure there, and just good objective scoring, and then lots of infantry to kind of deny primary a lot. Then double Dawns because they're good, and Ursula Creed and the Canadian Command. Solid list. I think it's good. It's strong. It does it does kind of what it says in the tin. Denies primary, holds down the fort, locks down your own primary, and then just wins. Now I think this kind of list is trying to get like a 10 to 14. I would say pretty on the high side. Higher if you get into a really favorable matchup, but a lot of the time you're just trying to push that there. So I'd say a stable but able to push. It'll be wanting to push with the Blood Angels. Eldari will probably be hedged into the night matchups, which is definitely going to be strong here. We've got another Imperial Knights pin, which can also be quite good. And just the straight up scam potential that you can have with knights and stuff like that is really good. Yeah, cool list. Cool lot. And then the last one we have here is Veterans of the Long Black. We have Imperial Knights, World Eaters, Astra Militarum, Black Templars, and Thousand Suns. Okay, so what do I think of this? So we got 1 Knight, and then we have Astra Militarum and 3 different Marines. So interested to see what Matt's been cooking up with World Eaters. So we got Imperial Knights, which is, again, if you're going to only have 1, I do think that Imperial Knights is the better of the one to have. I think they're just a little bit stronger and have a bit more scam potential. World Eaters, nice aggressive. I think in this meta that's come to this event, aggressive melee armies are going to be really good. So I think Matt's going to have a pretty joyful time here, I think. And then we have Astra, again, really nice, really stable, can help pull off bad matchups and still get a lot of points out of them and potentially win them. Black Templars is an interesting one. We haven't seen the Black Templars, so I have a look at Michael's list there. And then Tyler on Thousand Suns, again, wants to push as well. So you kind of have the World Eaters and Thousand Suns that really want to get those good matchups and kind of push for big wins. Templars can be a bit more stable, but can also push really well, especially the new Templar stuff. Some of it is really, really good. I was actually building lists today with it, and was quite enjoying like what the amount of damage you can put into lists now. And then Imperial Knights, just because they're good scam potential, just a strong archetype altogether. And if you can get into a good matchup, can absolutely dominate. But also in a bad matchup can still do fairly well. Really cool stuff. So yeah, I would say Matt and Tyler are the straight swords. Michael probably a bit more flex, and then Astra and Imperial Knights to be a bit more of the defensive ones here. And that really depends. I think this one is one of the packs that can be one of the 5 packs that can be really diversified and could really go in many different ways. So that's really cool. And that is this event. So I guess I got to put my curse on and see what team do I think is going to win it, and who do I think is going to score the most points. So let's do who I think is going to score the most points. And I think, go on, son, review my Astra list, Matthew, which is Is that Veterans of the Long Black? Is that your astrolist? Okay, I'll have a squiz. I'll have a squiz before I decide anything. Truth and Reconciliation. I see what you did there. I will drift my tanks and you can't stop me. It's a combined arms strike force. And what have we got here? Cadian Command Squad, Ogren Bodyguard. Okay, hype. Rogel Dawn, Ursula Creed. 1 Cadian, 1-2 Jungle Fighters, 2 Chimera, a Hellhound, 2 units of Kassakin, 2 Lemur Battle Tanks, an Exterminator, Aquilons. Hell yeah, 2 units of Aquilons. Hot. But the interesting one is the World Eaters. Yeah. I'll have a look at Matt's list. I think it's probably going to be something spicy. I like this though. This has the Aquilons. People fell out of favor with them really quickly, but I still think like they're quite value for what you get out of them. They still hit like a decent damage threshold. They still have a 6-inch deep strike, and that flamer thing is just annoying to have to deal with. Like, I still think they're quite strong. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with them. And they just give you a different angle to attack the game by. So I think it's really interesting. I'm really interested to see how you guys use this to pair, because it's similar to like Luke's in that it has a bunch of infantry, but it uses them in different ways. The Kassakin are a bit better at dealing damage than the Cadians and stuff like that, but you have less units of them because they're more expensive. And you've also gone with an Exterminator double battle tank, so the Exterminator give the extra AP, and then you have the Hellhound to even buff the AP, or to strip cover, so you're kind of getting an extra AP there, and then you have the battle tanks to kind of just push through damage. So that's quite neat. Kassakin to flip objectives and kill stuff. Chimeras to hold things in. The Catachan and the Cadians to lock down your primary and to flip your opponents. And then Dawns because they're good. Ogren Bodyguard because, I guess, swagger. I'm not sure. Is this actually really good? Is the Ogren Bodyguard actually, like, correct? Aquilons are bad people. No need to screen them or Trini, trust me. Yeah, I doubt that. I think Aquilons are low-key still, like, fine. Like, I don't really think that they're going to be that bad. Like, I think they're actually quite good. I just think people have fallen off them because they got nerfed a million times. But I still actually probably think they're quite good. But yeah, no, I dig this list. But yeah, let's have a look at Matt's list. I'm very curious to see what he's running. He's on Demonkin. Yeah, this is my favorite of the World Eaters detachments because I think it's just the most fun. But it also is probably much harder to play. But that has never stopped Matt in the past from playing things that are technical and interesting. So he's got Lord on Juggernaut with Disciple of Khorne, Master of Executions with Bloodforged Armor, Scarbrand, hell yeah, and a Slaughterbound with Blade of Endless Bloodshed. So that gives him the extra damage, which is really good. Ogren makes the Command Squad T6. That's very cute. That's very cool, actually. So it makes him like quite durable to deal with. That's interesting. But they're still like t-shirt saves, right? So like you're not going to survive a whole lot with an Ogren, like T6 Cadian Command Squad. Like, or is there some other tech that I'm just brushing over there? The rest of this list, we have Bloodletters, and then 10 Berserkers, unit of Blood Crushers to go with the Juggerlord, 2 units of 8-bound, Fleshhounds, double Forge Fiend, and Jackals. It's actually a fairly like standard list. I think it's pretty interesting. Blood Crushers, I think, are better on non-WTC maps. I don't think the Blood Crushers are overly powerful on WTC. But because they're running effectively 3 different types of terrain at this event, this could actually be quite an interesting pick here. I wonder if that was part of the consideration for it, or if it was just what he wanted to run anyway and wants to play this. Oh yeah, we got to rank the name as well. Elves, why join them when you can beat them? Yeah, those pointy knife-eared buggers. You don't want to get rid of them. So yeah, excited to see how you do, Matt. So with that, I'm gonna say, who do I think is going to be the highest scoring player? And then I'll do team. Like, Matt's definitely always up there. He's always a good scorer. Who do I think here? Again, I don't know all the people playing down here, so I'm also just going to, it has to be partly from who I know. And yeah, anyone in chat, if you want to shout out some names of people that might be the highest scorer of the event, shout out in the chat, and I will have a gaze. But I'm just looking. Who do I think is going to score well here? Like, Matt is probably going to score quite well because he's probably doing pairings for his team, and then he can just pair himself into good matchups. So that's like, part of the game plan right there, right? If you're doing pairings, you can always give yourself a good match. Oh, Louis, like, also, like, if Louis gets paired well with his Blood Angels, that could be a really interesting one. Sean with his leagues. Really depends on how the teams pair as to how things are going to go, right? Like, that's just kind of how it goes. These names, by the way, are just fire. No. I think I'm going to go Alex Cameron for best scorer of the event. Where was he? Yeah, Alex Cameron with his Eldari. I think if he can pair himself well, pretty much every team has knights. If he can get himself into that a bunch of times, he's going to bring home some big scores, most likely. Because that's kind of why you take Eldari at the moment. So I think I'm going to go with Alex for that. And then for team to win it, Luke Shirley for what? For best scorer? Oh, I don't know. I don't know if the Astra. I'm assuming it's 5 Catans. For the 5 Catans. Where is that? 5. So no, I missed it. Did I just? Oh, there we go. Necron list. I presumed it was 5 Catans, right? Catan Shard of the Nightbringer, Void Dragon, and 3 Transcendent Catans. Ugh. And a Chronomancer, 10 Immortals, and then 2 Doomstalkers. Ooh. It's definitely a list. I don't know if it's a good list, but it's definitely a list. Some things actually genuinely won't be able to deal with it, right? Like, I don't know. What can Knights do against that? Like, that's definitely something. I'm just worried about its mission playability. Yes, everything can, like, these guys can teleport. That is kind of interesting, but yeah, I don't know if it has enough stuff on the board because it's like, I guess it's tiny knights, which is kind of cute. Best sports stealer of girlfriends for Luke. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, and then what team do I think is going to win it? I'll go for Properly Cocked. They've got a pretty stacked team of players, and they've got a good lineup. And a good lineup with good players is usually a good combination for success here. So it's a bit of a cop-out answer, but I'll go with Properly Cocked. Since Steve came on the show earlier to have a chat. But yeah, okay. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. And that is the event, guys. I'm not going to go through pairings and stuff, but if you want to hear more about this event, on Wednesday night, me and my new co-host, we're actually starting a podcast together. It's going to be like a live stream podcast. It's going to be at 8 p.m. every Wednesday, and we're going to go through events that are happening in New Zealand and Australia, kind of talk about them, if we're going to them, what we're bringing, what we think is strong at the time, and a bunch of other topics that we come up with every week. So some of the topics are going to change every week, but a part of it is going to be just making sure that New Zealand events are covered and stuff like that. So I won't be doing that on these Fridays, but it'll be kind of focused more there, and we'll do more New Zealand and Australia stuff. And I have a co-host for that one, which is going to be quite exciting. He wants to keep himself mysterious until Wednesday. So, but yeah, stay tuned. On Wednesday night we'll do a bit of a recap from the Wellington teams and the event that I'll talk to next, which is the Heretic, which is the one dayer at Hobbymaster in Auckland. So we'll go to that one in a second. But yeah, if you're around on Wednesday nights, grab some hobbying to do and come and watch me and my friend start our new podcast, which is going to be called Skill Issue. So we're going to be talking about a bit about competitive stuff, but it's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek name because, and me and my friends often say that if you have a problem in 40k, oh, it's a skill issue. It's like, oh, I didn't roll well. Oh, that's a skill issue. So it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek little thing there. But yeah, so that is this event. Now on to the Heretic, which is the one day on this Sunday. 2,000 point event. I think it's WTC terrain the whole way through. And yeah, just one day of 3 rounds. Nothing too crazy. But let's have a look at the lists. So we have, people without the armies listed is absolutely rude. But we've got Astra, we've got a Mystery, we have Astra, we have Tyranids, we have Astra. What? Admech, Adeptus Sororitas, Charles, my boy, on Custodes, Chaos Space Marines, Dan on Emperor's Children, Daniel Lister on Space Marines, my boy Dylan on Drukhari, Hen on Death Guard, World Eaters, Black Templars, World Eaters. Wow, so many World Eaters as well. It's crazy. Then we have Tau. Yeah, Tau. My boy Josh on Space Wolves, Liam on Necrons, Logan on Imperial Knights. What else would he be playing? He's dropped, so never mind that one. Then we have Blood Angels, World Eaters, Grey Knights, Orcs, Pato on Space Wolves, Faniel on Gene Stealers, Steve on Necrons, and then World Eaters. So many World Eaters. What the heck? This is absolutely nuts. That is so many World Eaters in Astra. Interesting. Let's have a look at Dan's list, the old EC list. What does Daniel bring in? So, Fafo. He has got Fulgrim, Lucius the Eternal, bring in Fulgrim. Baller move. Absolutely baller move. Then we have Lucius, Demon Prince with Wings, Lord Exultant, pretty standard stuff there. 10 Infractors, 5 Infractors, 5 Tormentors. So, you got your Infiltrate, you got your kind of melee bricks, 2 Noise Marines, and 2 Rhinos. Clean. I like it. When you're fitting Fulgrim in, which is the 360 points, you kind of have to drop something, and it looks like he's dropped 1 Demon Prince and a couple of extra tools, like a unit of Noise Marines and like a character. Really interested to see how this goes. Pretty cool. Fulgrim's base size is an issue, but yeah, he's best of luck to him. It's pretty interesting. Who else would be good to look at? If anyone in the chat has anyone that they want to have a look at, let me know, and I will have a look. Let's have a look at Charles's Custodes. See what he's bringing. Lions, okay, he's got a Blade Champ, Shield Captain Alaris with Superior Creation, Shield Captain on Dawn Eagle with Presidius, Trajan, lots of characters. 5 Guards, 2 Alaris, double Grav Tank, double Wardens, double Prosecutors, Witch Seeker, and Draxus. So Draxus to go with the Custodian Guard, and then you have Trajan to go with one of the units of Wardens, and we have a Blade Champ to go with the others, and then Shield Captain to be on his lonesome, and then Alaris Captain, assuming to either go on his own because they're quite good on their own, or they have 2 Alaris to go with. Either way, quite good. Interesting list. Best of luck to him. Release the Lions. Fine name, not the best, but I'll give that a 5 out of 10 because it's kind of fitting. Who else would look? Let's have a look at Dylan's list. So we got Drazar. So this is a Reaper's Wager Drukhari list. It's quite interesting. Taking over Skari himself. Then we have Drazar, Lilith, Urians, just name dropping all the characters. An Archon, Beast Pack, Corsair, Void Reavers, 10 Cavalites, 10 Witches, 6 Grotesques. I guess that's an interesting unit because you can like use it to like gunk up part of the board. That's kind of cool. 5 Incubi, 5 Mandrakes, 3 units of Scourgers, all with Haywires. This man is prepped for the night matchups. Holy damn. Unit of 10 Hellions. That's interesting. I think they're quite good at killing Marines, so maybe it's like a Marine pick there. 2 Chronos, 3 Venom. Yep, so you can split everything up. Has a bunch of mission play, and then he has some good punch units. Can gunk up the board early with the beast packs. It's a cool list. Dylan is very good as a Drukhari pilot. He's one of the better Drukhari pilots in New Zealand. Is one of the mad lads that is still trying to play them, even though everyone says they're bad, apart from Scary, even though Scary proves them wrong all the time. But yeah, very cool. Best of luck, Dylan. Let's have a look at Logan's list with the Imperial Knights. This one is for Tate. That's a name and a half. Interesting. Obviously good friends with Tate Hobie. And then we have an Imperial Knights Noble Lance with Canis Rex, Lancer, Castellan, hell yeah, and a Crusader with Unyielding Paragon. On the Castellan has the Uppy Downy, a Warglaive, a Calidus, and Voidsman. Clean. You can't ask for much more than that. It's a cool list. They kind of, again, that's just a very easy, right? Because you just kind of, they do what they say on the tin. Like there's just, you have Canis, he's just good value. Knight Lancer to have a 4-up invul. Castellan to do a bit more damage, can be a bit more pressure orientated, and a Crusader has, a bunch of guns, which is great. And then a Warglaive to have something that can hold your expansion easily. Calidus and Voidsman to hold your home and then do mission play stuff. Clean. Best of luck. And let's finish off with the man, the myth, the legend, Joshua and his Space Wolves. Who let the dogs out? I'll give that like a 6.5 out of 10 because it's a good reference, but I think it's an overused reference. I feel like with Space Wolves, like you need to be a bit more original because that's just like, that's so on the tin. The Saga of the Beast Slayer, so it's one of the new Codex detachments, the one that you get lethals and against vehicles and characters, I believe, and a bunch of great stratagems. You've got Arjak Rockfist, Logan Grimnar, Wolfguard Battle Leader, and a Wolf Priest. Intercessor Squad, Impulsor, 2 Ballistus Dreads, Infiltrator Squad, Scout Squad, Thunderwolf Cav, Thunderwolf Cav, Thunderwolf Cav, Wolfguard Head Takers. This is the new kind of like pseudo Space Wolf Blade Guard unit, which is quite interesting. And then we have 5 band of Terminators, 5 band of Terminators, and a 10 strong of Thunderhammer toting Wolfen. So quite aggressive, but also has, instead of the 110 Terminators, it has 2 5s. So it can play the board a bit better, can kind of be a bit more all over the show, which is kind of good. I kind of like that, actually. You have a bunch of mission play. The Thunderwolf Cavalry hit like a truck. Then you have the Terminator to be tanky and also be able to push things really well. Scouts, Infiltrators to just be some of the best utility you have in the game. 2 Ballistus, an Impulsor. Again, the Impulsor is probably for the head takers. Really good there. And also, the Impulsor, once the guys get out of the Impulsor is just a great objective holder and mission doer. Then we have a Wolf Priest to make those Ballistas hit harder. Wolfguard Battle Leader, I'm assuming that goes with the head takers. I'm not sure what Wolf Touch does. If anyone in the comments knows, please let me know. Logan Grimnar to do all of the Logan Grimnar things, and Arjak because he's an absolute badass, like Thor on drugs. Very, very cool. Sick list. Very, very cool. And yeah, and that's kind of all I've got for that. Very, very cool stuff. Exciting. And again, we'll be reviewing this tournament on the podcast on Skill Issue on Wednesday at 8 p.m. New Zealand time. So if you're around then, please come and watch us. It'll be our first episode where we kind of go through a couple of, we'll kind of go through what we want to do with the podcast, kind of the direction we want to take it and all that kind of stuff. And then we'll kind of go on from there. So it should be quite exciting. Should be quite a lot of fun. And yeah. With that all being said, let's go to this one. Whoa. And actually, yeah. And yeah, so that's it for me, guys. Hope you really enjoyed. This has been my little hour and a bit of live streaming every Friday night. And I hope you enjoyed. Catch you guys next time. Best of luck to everyone playing this weekend. Hope you all kill it. Please message me with anything interesting that happens on the weekend, because I love to hear about that kind of stuff. And otherwise, I will see you all next time. Bye. Never know how to end these things, eh? It's always kind of awkward.